I stood frozen in the doorway of our bedroom, my hand still gripping the doorknob. The scene before me felt surreal, like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Paul, my husband of 15 years, was tangled in our sheets with a woman I'd never seen before. They scrambled to cover themselves, but the damage was done. "Rebecca," Paul's voice cracked. I can explain. I found my voice, though it came out as a whisper. "Get out." The woman, young, blonde, and beautiful in all the ways I used to be, grabbed her clothes and bolted past me. I didn't even look at her. My eyes were locked on Paul. He stumbled out of bed, reaching for his discarded pants. "Honey, please, it's not what you think." A laugh bubbled up from my chest, bitter and hollow. "Really? Because I think I just caught you in bed with another woman. Please, enlighten me on what I'm misunderstanding here." Paul's face crumpled. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen." "How long?" I demanded, my voice gaining strength. He hesitated, and I knew. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was an affair. 6 months, he admitted quietly. The world tilted on its axis. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of betrayal. I thought of all the late nights at the office, the mysterious text messages, the sudden interest in his appearance. How could I have been so blind? "Who is she?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. Paul sighed, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "Her name is Emily. She's an intern at the firm." Of course, young, impressionable, probably hanging on his every word. I felt sick. "The boys," I said suddenly, panic rising in my chest. "Where are Alex and Todd?" "They're at my mother's," Paul assured me. "They're safe." I nodded, relieved but also furious that he'd planned this so carefully. "You need to leave," I said, my voice cold and steady. "Now." Paul stepped towards me, his eyes pleading. "Rebecca, please? We can work this out. I love you." I held up a hand, stopping him in his tracks. "Don't. Just don't. I can't even look at you right now." He nodded, defeated, and gathered the rest of his things. As he passed me in the doorway, he paused. "I'll call you tomorrow. We can talk then." I didn't respond, didn't even watch him go. I just stood there, staring at the rumpled sheets of our marriage bed, thus feeling my world crumble around me. The sound of the front door closing snapped me out of my daze. I moved on autopilot, stripping the bed and shoving the sheets into the washing machine. I cranked the water temperature as high as it would go, as if I could somehow scald away the memory of what I'd seen. As the machine hummed to life, I sank to the floor of the laundry room and finally let the tears come. How could he do this to me? To our family? 15 years of marriage, 2 beautiful boys, and he threw it all away for some young thing from the office. My phone buzzed in my pocket. With shaking hands, I pulled it out to see a text from Mildred, my mother-in-law. "The boys are asking for you. When should I bring them home?" Reality came crashing back. Alex and Todd. My babies. How was I going to tell them that their father had destroyed our family? I took a deep breath, steeling myself. I couldn't fall apart now. My boys needed me to be strong. I typed out a reply. "I'll pick them up in an hour. Thank you for watching them." As I hit send, another text came through. This one from Paul. "I'm so sorry. Please, let's talk tomorrow. I love you." I stared at the words until they blurred, then deleted the message without responding. Tomorrow would come soon enough, and with it the fight of my life. But tonight I had 2 little boys who needed their mother. I pushed myself to my feet, wiped my eyes, and headed for the shower. I had an hour to pull myself together and figure out how to face Mildred without falling apart or revealing the truth. One step at a time, I told myself. That's how we'll get through this. The courtroom felt suffocating as I sat, waiting for the judge's decision. Paul's eyes bored into me from across the aisle, but I refused to look at him. Instead, I focused on my lawyer's reassuring smile. "In the matter of custody for Alex and Todd Thompson," the judge began, "I hereby grant full custody to Rebecca Thompson." Relief washed over me, but it was short-lived. Paul's face contorted with anger, and I knew this battle was far from over. Outside the courthouse, Paul cornered me. "This isn't fair, Rebecca. They're my sons, too." I stood my ground. "You should have thought about that before you threw our family away for Emily." His jaw clenched. "I'll appeal. You can't keep them from me." "I'm not keeping them from you, Paul. You'll have visitation, but they need stability right now, and that's something I can provide." As Paul stormed off, my lawyer approached. "Congratulations, Rebecca. It's a good outcome." I nodded, feeling hollow. "Thanks, Sarah. What happens now?" She squeezed my arm. "Go home. Be with your boys. The rest can wait." The drive home felt surreal. I'd won, but it didn't feel like a victory. How do you celebrate tearing your family apart? As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Alex and Todd peering out the window. My heart clenched. How was I going to explain this to them? I barely made it through the door before they bombarded me with questions. "Mom, what happened?" Alex demanded, his voice cracking with pubescent worry. Todd, always more sensitive, clung to my side. "Are we going to live with Dad?" I took a deep breath, guiding them to the couch. "Let's sit down, boys. We need to talk." Their faces were a mix of fear and confusion as I explained the custody arrangement. Alex, at 12, understood more than I wished he did. Todd, just 10, seemed lost. "But why can't we live with Dad, too?" Todd asked, his lower lip trembling. I pulled him close. "Oh, sweetie, you'll still see your dad, he'll visit, and you'll spend weekends with him. But for now, this is what's best for everyone." Alex's eyes narrowed. "It's because of that woman, isn't it? The one Dad's been seeing?" My heart sank. Of course, Alex had picked up on more than he let on. "It's complicated, honey. But yes, that's part of it. I hate her," Alex spat. "I hate Dad for doing this to us." I grabbed his hand. "Alex, listen to me. It's okay to be angry, but hate isn't the answer. Your dad made a mistake, but he still loves you both very much." Alex pulled away, storming off to his room. Todd burst into tears, burying his face in my shirt. As I held my younger son, trying to soothe him, I heard a crash from upstairs. Alex was letting out his frustration the only way he knew how. I closed my eyes, fighting back my own tears. This was going to be harder than I thought. The next few days were a blur of tears, tantrums, and tense silences. I tried to keep things as normal as possible, but nothing felt normal anymore. It was a week after the custody hearing when Paul came for his first visit. The boys were excited to see him, but I could sense their confusion and hurt. As they drove away, I felt a mix of relief and anxiety. For the first time in days, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I wandered from room to room, straightening toys and folding laundry, anything to keep my hands busy. But as I passed Alex's room, something caught my eye. A crumpled piece of paper lay half hidden under his bed. I shouldn't have looked, but curiosity got the better of me. It was a letter addressed to Emily. My blood ran cold as I read the angry, hurt words my son had poured onto the page. Threats, accusations, and a pain so raw it took my breath away. I sank onto Alex's bed, the letter clutched in my trembling hands. This was worse than I'd imagined. My son was planning revenge on the woman who'd torn apart his family. As I sat there, surrounded by the remnants of my old life, I realized the real battle was just beginning. Winning custody was one thing. Healing my children's broken hearts, that would be the fight of my life. I stood on Mildred's porch, my finger hovering over the doorbell. Part of me wanted to turn and run, but I needed answers. I needed to understand how my mother-in-law could support Paul's betrayal. The door swung open before I could ring. Mildred's eyes narrowed. "Rebecca, what a surprise." "We need to talk, Mildred," I said, pushing past her into the house. She sighed, closing the door. "I suppose we do. Tea?" "No, thank you. I want to know why you're defending Paul after what he's done." Mildred's face hardened. "Marriage isn't always simple, Rebecca. Sometimes men stray. It's how we handle it that matters." I felt my blood boil. "Handle it? He had an affair, Mildred. He destroyed our family." Perhaps if you'd been more attentive." "Don't you dare blame this on me," I snapped. "Paul made his choice." Mildred sat primly on her floral sofa. "Paul tells me he's very happy with Emily. She understands him in ways you never could." The casual cruelty of her words stung. "And what about your grandsons? Do they understand why their father abandoned them?" A flicker of emotion crossed Mildred's face. "Alex is handling it quite well, actually. He's such a strong boy." "And Todd?" I pressed. Mildred waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, he'll adjust. Children are resilient." I stared at her, realization dawning. "You're playing favorites. You always have, haven't you?" "I don't know what you mean," Mildred sniffed. "Alex is the golden child and Todd's just an afterthought, just like Paul was your favorite and his brother could never measure up." Mildred's eyes flashed. "Now, see here." "No, you see here," I interrupted. "Your outdated ideas about family and loyalty are toxic. You're hurting my children with your bias." "I would never hurt those boys," Mildred protested. "But you are," I insisted. "By supporting Paul's affair, by favoring Alex, you're teaching them that betrayal is acceptable and that love is conditional." Mildred stood, her face flushed with anger. "I think you should leave, Rebecca." "Gladly," I said, moving towards the door. "But know this, I won't let you or Paul or anyone else hurt my children. If I have to protect them from their own family, so be it." As I reached for the doorknob, Mildred's voice stopped me. "He was right about you, you know. You're too rigid, too unforgiving. No wonder he strayed." I turned, my voice low and dangerous. And you're a hypocrite, Mildred, preaching about family values while condoning adultery. I feel sorry for you. I slammed the door behind me, my hands shaking as I fumbled for my car keys. The confrontation had gone worse than I'd imagined, but at least now I knew where everyone stood. As I drove home, my phone buzzed with a text from Paul. Mom called. Said you upset her. What's going on? I ignored it, focusing on the road ahead. Let him stew. Let him wonder. When I got home, I found Alex and Todd huddled on the couch, whispering intently. They fell silent as I entered, guilt written across their faces. What's going on, boys? I asked, my earlier anger fading to concern. Alex spoke first, his voice trembling. We heard you and Dad fighting on the phone last night. About us. My heart sank. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry you heard that. Todd's lower lip quivered. Are you and Dad going to keep fighting forever? I sat between them, pulling them close. Your dad and I are going through a tough time right now, but I promise you, we both love you more than anything. Alex pulled away, his eyes hard. If Dad loves us, why did he leave? Why does he spend all his time with Emily? The bitterness in his voice broke my heart. Sometimes adults make mistakes, Alex. Big ones. But that doesn't mean they stop loving their children. I hate him, Alex muttered. I hate all of them. As I held my sons, trying to soothe their pain, I realized the true cost of Paul's betrayal. It wasn't just our marriage he'd destroyed. It was our children's trust, their sense of security. In that moment, I made a silent vow. No matter what it took, I would protect my boys. From Paul's fickleness, from Mildred's favoritism, from the cruelty of a world that had turned their lives upside down. Even if it meant standing alone against my entire former family, I would do it. For Alex, for Todd, for the three of us, united against the storm. The tension in the air was palpable as I faced Mildred across her immaculate living room. Our earlier confrontation had only been the beginning. Now, with Paul by her side, I felt like I was facing a united front of betrayal. Rebecca, Paul began, his voice strained. Mom tells me you've been making some accusations. I laughed bitterly. Accusations? You mean stating facts about your affair and her blatant favoritism? Mildred's eyes narrowed. Now, see here, young lady. No, you see here, I snapped, my patience finally breaking. Now, I've had enough of your manipulations and your outdated ideas about family. You're poisoning my children with your bias. Paul stepped forward, hands raised placatingly. Let's all calm down. We're here to talk about the boys, remember? I turned my fury on him. Oh, now you want to talk about the boys? Where was this concern when you were sneaking around with Emily? That's different, Paul muttered, but I could see the guilt in his eyes. Mildred interjected, her voice syrupy sweet. We're just concerned about Alex, dear. He seems to be struggling more than Todd with the situation. The implication in her words was clear. I felt my blood boil. You mean he's struggling more because you're filling his head with lies and making him choose sides? We would never, Paul began, but I cut him off. Save it, Paul. I've seen how you both fawn over Alex and barely acknowledge Todd. It stops now. Mildred's facade cracked, her true colors showing through. Well, perhaps if Todd weren't so sensitive. He's sensitive because his father abandoned him and his grandmother treats him like a second-class citizen, I shouted, my composure finally shattering. The room fell silent, the weight of my words hanging heavy in the air. Paul looked stricken, while Mildred's face had gone pale with anger. I think, Mildred said slowly, her voice trembling with rage, that it's time for you to leave, Rebecca. I stood my ground. No, I don't think so. Not until we settle this once and for all. Paul stepped between us, ever the peacemaker. Rebecca, please, let's not do this in front of the boys. As if on cue, I heard a small gasp from the hallway. We all turned to see Alex and Todd standing there, their eyes wide with shock and hurt. Mom? Todd's voice quavered. What's going on? Alex, always quicker to anger, glared at all of us. Why are you always fighting? I hate this! The sight of my boys caught in the crossfire of adult drama broke my heart. In that moment, I knew what I had to do. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what came next. Boys, go pack your bags. We're leaving. What? Paul exclaimed. Rebecca, you can't just take them. I turned to him, my voice steady and cold. Watch me. I won't let them be pawns in this toxic game anymore. Mildred sputtered, her face red with indignation. Now see here, you can't. I can, and I will. I interrupted. I'm severing all ties with this family, Mildred. You, Paul, all of it. My boys deserve better than this poison. As Alex and Todd hesitantly moved to pack, I faced Paul and Mildred one last time. I'll have my lawyer contact you about visitation, Paul. But know this, If either of you try to turn my children against each other or against me again, I'll fight you with everything I have. Paul's face crumpled. Rebecca, please, we can work this out. But I was done listening, done compromising, done watching my children suffer. As I ushered Alex and Todd out to the car, ignoring Mildred's shrill protests and Paul's pleading, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The road ahead would be hard, but at least now we could heal without the constant interference of toxic influences. In the rearview mirror, I watched Paul and Mildred grow smaller, standing on the porch of a house that no longer felt like home. A chapter of our lives was ending, but I was determined to write a better story for my boys, no matter the cost. The weeks following our dramatic exit from Mildred's house were a blur of lawyers, counseling sessions, and sleepless nights. I thought we were making progress, slowly healing as a family of 3. But I couldn't have been more wrong. It was a crisp autumn morning when my world shattered again. Alex's bedroom door slammed, the sound echoing through our small apartment. "I can't do this anymore," he shouted. Storming into the living room with a packed duffel bag, I jumped up from the couch, my heart racing. "Alex, honey, what's going on?" His face was a mask of anger and hurt. "I'm going to live with Dad and Grandma. At least they understand me." Todd appeared in the hallway, his eyes wide with fear. "Alex, please don't go," he pleaded. But Alex ignored him, turning to me with accusing eyes. "You're always saying how Dad and Grandma are toxic, but you're the one tearing us apart. I hate it here." His words cut deep, but I fought to stay calm. "Alex, please, let's talk about this. Whatever's bothering you, we can work it out." He shook his head violently. "No, we can't. You don't listen. You don't understand. Dad says I can stay with him and Emily if I want to." The mention of Emily's name sent a jolt of anger through me. "Your father had no right to make that offer without consulting me." "See?" Alex exploded. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're always controlling everything." I took a deep breath, trying to center myself. "Alex, I know this is hard, but running away isn't the answer. Please, just sit down and talk to me." For a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes, but then his face hardened. "No, I've made up my mind. Dad's waiting outside." My blood ran cold. "What? Paul's here?" As if on cue, there was a knock at the door. Alex yanked it open, revealing Paul standing there with a smug smile. "Hello, Rebecca," he said smoothly. "I believe our son has made his decision." I felt like I was drowning. "Paul, you can't do this. We have a custody agreement," he shrugged. "Alex is old enough to choose where he wants to live. Isn't that right, son?" Alex nodded, avoiding my gaze. "I want to go with Dad." Todd, who had been silent until now, suddenly burst into tears. "Alex, please don't leave us." The sight of my younger son's distress snapped me out of my shock. I knelt down, pulling Todd into a tight hug. "It's okay, sweetie. It's going to be okay." Over Todd's shoulder, I locked eyes with Paul. "This isn't over," I said, my voice low and dangerous. Paul's smile never wavered. "We'll let the courts decide that, Rebecca. Come on, Alex." As they turned to leave, I made one last desperate plea. "Alex, please, think about what you're doing. Think about your brother." For a brief moment, Alex hesitated. He looked back at Todd, still crying in my arms, and I saw a flicker of doubt cross his face. But then Mildred appeared in the hallway, her arms outstretched. "Come along, dear," she cooed. "Grandma's got your favorite dinner waiting." And just like that, the moment was gone. Alex's face hardened again, and he walked out without another word. As the door closed behind them, I felt something inside me break. Todd's sobs echoed in the suddenly empty apartment, and I held him tighter, my own tears finally falling. In that moment of raw pain and betrayal, I made a decision. This wasn't just about me anymore. It wasn't even just about Alex. I had to protect Todd from the manipulation and favoritism that had torn our family apart. I gently pulled back, looking into Todd's tear-stained face. "Pack a bag, sweetheart," I said softly. "We're going on a little trip." Todd sniffled, confusion replacing some of the hurt in his eyes. "Where are we going, Mom?" I managed a small smile, my resolve strengthening. "Somewhere new. Somewhere we can start fresh. Just the two of us." As Todd went to pack, I pulled out my phone, my fingers hovering over the contact list. It was time to call in some favors, to find a way out of this toxic situation. For Todd's sake, and for my own, I had to be strong. I had to fight back. The battle lines were drawn, and this time I was ready for war. The small town of Millbrook felt like a world away from the chaos we'd left behind in Chicago. As I watched Todd chase fireflies in our new backyard, I allowed myself a moment of hope. Maybe here we could finally heal. "Mom, look," Todd called, His face lit up with a joy I hadn't seen in months. I caught one. I smiled, pushing away the lingering sadness. That's wonderful, sweetie. Why don't you let it go now? Remember, we're just visiting their world. As Todd released the firefly, my phone buzzed. My heart sank as I saw Paul's name on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. Rebecca, where the hell are you? Paul's voice crackled with anger. You can't just disappear with my son. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. Our son, Paul, and I had every right to move. Check with my lawyer if you don't believe me. This isn't over, he snarled. Alex is devastated. How could you abandon him like this? His words hit like a physical blow. I didn't abandon anyone, Paul. Alex chose to stay with you and your mother. I'm protecting Todd from your toxic influence. The line went silent for a moment. When Paul spoke again, his voice was dangerously calm. You've gone too far this time, Rebecca. I'm coming to get Todd. Both my sons belong with me. Fear gripped my heart. You stay away from us, Paul. I mean it. I hung up, my hands shaking. Todd looked up at me, worry creasing his young face. Mom? What's wrong? I forced a smile. Nothing, sweetie. Let's go inside, okay? It's getting late. That night, after Todd was asleep, I paced our small living room, my mind racing. I knew Paul wouldn't give up easily, and with Mildred's money and influence behind him, he could make things very difficult for us. A soft knock at the door made me jump. It was nearly midnight. Who could be here at this hour? Cautiously, I approached the door, peering through the peephole. My breath caught in my throat. It was Alex. I flung the door open. Alex? What are you doing here? How did you find us? He stood there looking lost and so much older than his 12 years. Mom, I made a mistake. Can I come in? As Alex stepped inside, the floodgates opened. He told me everything. How Mildred had been poisoning him against me, how Paul and Emily's relationship was already falling apart, how he missed Todd and regretted his decision to stay behind. I'm so sorry, Mom, he sobbed, collapsing into my arms. I should never have left. I held him tight, my own tears falling. It's okay, sweetheart. You're here now. That's all that matters. But our reunion was short-lived. Headlights swept across the living room window, and a car door slammed outside. Alex! Paul's voice boomed. I know you're in there. Come out now. Alex stiffened in my arms. Dad followed me, he whispered, panic in his eyes. I stood, pushing Alex behind me. Stay here. I'll handle this. Opening the door, I faced Paul, who stood on our porch looking furious. You've gone too far, Rebecca, he growled. I'm taking both boys home now. They are home, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. This ends here, Paul. No more manipulation, no more games. Paul's face contorted with rage. He took a step forward, but before he could speak, another voice cut through the night. Dad, stop! We both turned to see Todd standing in the doorway, his small frame silhouetted against the light from inside. I want to stay with Mom. Please, just leave us alone. The sight of his younger son seemed to deflate Paul. He looked from Todd to Alex, who had come to stand beside his brother, and then back to me. In that moment, I saw the realization dawn in his eyes. He had lost. Not just the battle, but his family. As Paul stumbled back to his car, defeated, I gathered my boys close. We had a long road ahead, full of healing and rebuilding trust. But for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of real hope. Together, we watched Paul's taillights disappear into the night, closing one chapter of our lives and opening another. Whatever came next, we would face it as a family, battered and bruised but unbroken. The shrill ring of my phone pierced the quiet of our new home. I glanced at the caller ID and felt my stomach drop. Paul. Again. What is it now, Paul? I answered, trying to keep my voice low so as not to wake the boys. His voice came through, frantic and desperate. Rebecca, I need your help. Emily's gone. I sat up straighter, my mind racing. What do you mean, gone? She left, Paul choked out. Took the baby and just left. I don't know what to do. For a moment, I felt a twisted sense of satisfaction. The woman who had torn apart my family was now doing the same to Paul. But then reality set in. This wasn't just about Paul anymore. There was an innocent baby involved. Paul, calm down, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. Have you called the police? No, I can't, he stammered. There's a note. She says if I involve the authorities, I'll never see them again. My heart sank. As much as I wanted to hang up and let Paul deal with his own mess, I couldn't. Not when a child was at risk. I'll be there in an hour, I said, already reaching for my keys. As I crept out of the house, leaving a note for Alex and Todd, I wondered if I was making a huge mistake. But something in Paul's voice had struck a chord. He sounded broken, lost, just like I had been not so long ago. The drive back to Chicago felt surreal. Memories flooded back with each familiar landmark. By the time I pulled up to our old house, my hands were shaking. Paul looked like a shell of his former self when he opened the door. Dark circles under his eyes, clothes rumpled, the stench of alcohol on his breath. "Thank God you're here," he mumbled, pulling me inside. The house was a disaster. Dirty dishes piled in the sink, laundry strewn about, and in the middle of it all, a bassinet. Empty. "Tell me everything," I demanded. As Paul recounted the past few months, my anger towards him slowly shifted to pity. Emily had grown increasingly unstable after the baby was born. Postpartum depression, the doctors had said. But she refused help, accusing Paul of trying to control her. "I thought I could handle it," Paul said, his voice breaking. "I thought if I just loved her enough, supported her enough." "Oh, Paul," I sighed. "Love isn't always enough." We spent the next few hours calling hospitals, checking Emily's favorite spots, even reaching out to her family. Nothing. As dawn broke, we sat on the front porch, exhausted and no closer to finding Emily and the baby. "I've ruined everything," Paul said quietly. "Our family, my relationship with the boys, and now I've failed as a father again." I wanted to agree with him, to twist the knife of guilt. But looking at him now, I saw not my cheating ex-husband, but a broken man who had made terrible mistakes. "We'll find them," I said, surprising myself with the conviction in my voice, "and then we'll figure out how to move forward, all of us." Paul looked at me, hope and gratitude shining in his tear-filled eyes. "Why are you helping me, Rebecca, after everything I've done?" I took a deep breath, realizing the truth as I spoke it. Because despite everything, we're still family, and family doesn't give up on each other. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I have the baby. Meet me at the park where we first met. Come alone." I showed Paul the message, watching the color drain from his face. "It's Emily," he whispered. "What do we do?" I stood up, a plan already forming in my mind. "We end this, once and for all." As I headed to my car, I realized that this moment wasn't just about finding Emily and the baby. It was about facing our past, confronting our mistakes, and maybe, just maybe, finding a way to heal the deep wounds that had torn our family apart. With a deep breath, I started the engine. Whatever happened next would change all of our lives forever. And I was ready to face it head on. 2 years had passed since that fateful night when Emily disappeared with the baby. So much had changed, yet some things remained painfully the same. As I sat on our front porch, watching Todd play in the yard, I couldn't help but think of Alex and the void his absence had left in our lives. The sound of tires on gravel pulled me from my reverie. A car I didn't recognize pulled up, and my heart nearly stopped when I saw who stepped out. Alex. He stood there, taller now, looking so much like Paul it hurt, but his eyes were all mine, uncertain, hopeful, and brimming with unshed tears. "Mom?" His voice cracked, and suddenly he was my little boy again. I was on my feet in an instant, crossing the distance between us. "Alex," I breathed, pulling him into a fierce hug. Todd's excited shout broke our embrace. "Alex, you're back!" As the boys reunited, laughing and crying, I noticed the car hadn't left. Paul stepped out, looking older and more subdued than I remembered. "Rebecca," he said softly, "I hope it's okay that I brought him." I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. We all moved inside, the air thick with unspoken words and lingering hurts. Alex spoke first, his words tumbling out in a rush. "Mom, I'm so sorry. For everything. For choosing Dad and Grandma. For believing their lies about you. I was wrong, and I've regretted it every day since." I took his hand, squeezing it gently. "Oh, honey, you were just a child caught in an impossible situation. I never blamed you." Paul cleared his throat. "That's on me, Alex. I put you in that position, and I'll never forgive myself for it." The room fell silent, years of pain and resentment hanging heavy between us. "What happened with Emily?" I finally asked. "And the baby?" Paul's face crumpled. "She's in a treatment facility. Postpartum psychosis, they said. The baby? Our daughter. She's with Emily's parents for now." My heart ached for the innocent child caught in this mess. "And you, Paul? How are you handling all this?" He met my gaze, his eyes full of remorse. "I'm in therapy, trying to be better, for Alex, for our daughter, and to make amends, to all of you." Todd, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, spoke up. "Does this mean we can be a family again?" The hope in his voice nearly broke me. I looked at Alex, saw the same longing reflected in his eyes. "Oh, boys," I sighed. "It's not that simple. Your father and I—" "I know we can't go back," Paul interrupted. "I don't expect that, Rebecca, but maybe we can find a way forward, for the kids' sake." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of this moment. When I opened them, I saw 4 pairs of eyes watching me expectantly. "It won't be easy," I said slowly. "There's a lot of hurt to work through, a lot of trust to rebuild." Alex nodded eagerly. "We can do it, Mom. Together." I looked at my boys, both of them, and felt a surge of love so strong it took my breath away. Then I looked at Paul, the man who had broken my heart but was now trying to piece it back together. "Okay," I said softly. "We'll try." The relief in the room was palpable. As Alex and Todd hugged, their laughter filling the air, I felt something shift inside me. The anger and bitterness I'd been carrying for so long began to loosen its grip. Paul caught my eye, a tentative smile on his face. "Thank you, Rebecca, for giving us this chance." I nodded, not quite ready to return the smile, but feeling the first stirrings of hope. "We've all made mistakes," I said, "but maybe it's time we start forgiving ourselves and each other." As the afternoon wore on, filled with cautious conversations and careful reconnections, I realized that this wasn't an ending. It was a new beginning. A chance to rewrite our story, not erasing the painful chapters, but learning from them. Our family would never be what it once was. But maybe, just maybe, we could build something new. Something stronger, more honest, and filled with the kind of love that weathers any storm. As I watched my boys laughing together, Paul hovering nearby with a mix of guilt and hope on his face, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The road ahead would be long and challenging, but for the first time in years, I was ready to face it. Together we would heal, together we would forgive, and together we would find our way back to the family we were always meant to be.